Really first appreciate everybody to be here, and it's great that we have this event. Cisco success is very tightly linked to our partners, and so we want to win together, and that's what I want to show you today. It's basically all the investments that we are doing in ASR 9000, what we are doing with the edge, why we are doing it, how we are architecting the network end to end. And you will see many, many more presentations on the architectures later. We will basically go over high-level architectures, how to place edge, what is changing in the edge positioning. And then we will go over more tactical information, basically, what is new this year, what have we introduced, what are the line cards, what we are bringing next year as well. We'll finish by the roadmap and next year information for ASR 9000. So exciting material. We have about 1 hour for the content, and please feel free to ask questions at any time so that we bring you the information that you need. Kevin was talking about the investment and the crucial role that we play into investment into silicon, investment into software. What I want to talk a little about is really what is changing and how the architectures are transitioning, or what's new, what's changing in the architectures. And from there, we are going to see what actually is also what is changing for the edge. Traffic growth, that's obviously silicon investments. We are doing that across portfolio. You are going to see where we are bringing ASR 9000. Very excited to have launched this year our 4th generation line card family. And as you will see, we have more in the pipeline. Now, new services, cloud, and closer to the customers. Those are some major shifts in the architectures that are happening. New services, Adam was talking about that, and Kevin touched upon that subject as well. New services are there to help our customers to monetize the investments. And especially now with 5G, I don't know how many of you have been at Mobile World Congress. You certainly have seen the new services that are being enabled by the new technologies, AR, VR, right? Video, obviously, since always fueling the traffic growth, but also a lot of automation, but not in terms of network automation, but actually smart cities or automation of the factories. Those services require a little bit new a shift in the architectures. They basically require delivering services closer to the customer. Closer to the customer means that compute and storage and basically the infrastructure from where we deliver the services are going to move closer to the customers. What does it mean for edge? It does mean that some of the edge applications, which are network service terminations, also will need to move closer to the edge. Because, for example, if we use encapsulations, right, for traffic, subscriber traffics or traffic forwarding, we'll need to terminate that before we can inject, services into the subscriber traffic. So closer to the customer. That applies to storage, that applies to subscriber termination, that applies to compute, that applies to peering, right? And Kevin again was talking a little bit about that. As most of the content on the network is coming from either cloud providers or video, those injection points of the traffic needs to move closer to the edge as well. So that means that either your edge placement is changing, and that also requires the architecture of the forwarding of the transport network to be more flexible, so that you can actually place this edge termination, whether it's virtual or physical, closer to the customer. And the last but not least is security investments. We talk a lot about the security, but actually when you look at the networks, IP, internet networks become the utility infrastructures of today and tomorrow, right? The crucial services are transported over internet infrastructure. So what we are doing here is providing security at multiple levels, and obviously data integrity and encryption. So for that we have MACsec across the portfolio, as well as service security such as DDoS, which we are implementing at a network edge or peering points. But also we are making huge investments into OS security. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about that as we are modernizing our iOS XR infrastructure. Before we go into what's new, I just want to make a state of the art and review everything that we have done over the last few years, because effectively this session we haven't had since a few years, as Adam mentioned. So I'm going to go over where we are with the portfolio and where we are with the platform. This picture, you also have seen it in the previous presentation when Kevin was showing the core platforms. This basically is the picture of end-to-end service provider portfolio. And where ASR 9000 plays, ASR 9000 main role is edge. What do we mean by edge? Edge is where networking services are terminated. That means business VPN, that means mobile edge, that means subscriber termination, BNG, right? So any place where networking services are terminated. How edge is different from other places in the network, right? Other places in the network like aggregation or core, they are using pretty much the same technologies, right? We are using everywhere MPLS or segment routing underlay. We are using EVPN or pseudo-wire overlay of the service. So from high-level perspective, when you look at the edge or other places in the network, they look very similar. What is different on the edge is if you terminate the service there, this is actually the place where SLA and accounting happens. This is the place where service multi-tenancy and service delineation happens, right? So that's where you need very high scale of multi-tenancy. That means high scale of VPN services, high scale of where it's VPLS, pseudo-wire, etc. But that's where you need that scale, because that's where you will have the multi-tenancy. You will need high QoS scale, right? Because that's where individual, whether it's subscriber or business VPN or services are going to be terminated. That's where you are going to apply all this hierarchical QoS and basically per tenant, per subscriber features. And that's where you also are going to apply the per customer, per tenant accounting. So that's pretty much the difference between what edge is and what other places in the network are. Underlying technology pretty much the same, but what you are adding on the top of it is that customer or subscriber termination. So when you look at the network, where do you place edge, right? Typically, today in the deployments, we do place edge in between the aggregation and the core network. This actually is going to change a little bit in next-gen architectures. I'm going to show that in a minute. But today, just for consistency purposes, we are placing it there. What kind of edge we can have there? It's business Ethernet, layer 2, layer 3 VPN, whether layer 2 VPN we especially see in wholesale models, layer 3 VPN for enterprise services, BNG for subscriber terminations. That's where we are going to terminate whether it's PPPoE or IPoE sessions, and mobile edge. Mobile edge is not as dense as business VPN or subscriber, because basically on mobile edge while you are terminating the services before handing them into the data centers into EPC or VEPC, it actually has more of the delineation on per service level rather per mobile subscriber level. So it's a little bit looking more and more as aggregation, but right now we are classifying it in that category. And then you have another edge function, which is DCI. DCI is basically border router, which translates the technology between data center core and data center and one core, right? And that's where ASR 9000 also is the primary platform. For example, connecting to ACI, VXLAN EVPN. You terminate that on ASR 9000, and then you can basically mediate it into layer 3 VPN or layer 2 VPN, whether it's VPLS or EVPN. But now the transport is going to be over MPLS or segment routing, right? So those are the roles where we primarily position ASR 9000. Obviously, ASR 9000 is deployed in peering, is deployed in the core, and as Kevin mentioned, especially in Europe, we deployed a lot of ASR 9000 in the core infrastructures. The density is right. Some of the customers also, like the fact that they operationalize one platform and can basically run it in all places in the network. So that offering is also there. When we go into what has been done on ASR 9000 since 3 years, we have invested. We have had massive investment into software features on ASR 9000. So, as the edge platform, it has to be your Swiss Army knife, because you basically want to keep your aggregation and the core as simple and as cookie cutter for any services as possible. So when you need to do customization or service termination, different service terminations, you move that to the edge. That way, you keep the aggregation service agnostic as much as possible. When you do that, you can achieve the convergence. You can basically have any services on the aggregation network, and you do not need to engineer the aggregation network to the highest common denominator services. So that's the benefit to separate basically aggregation, core, and edge functions. So what did we do on Business VPN Edge? Basically, you have all traditional MPLS VPN and layer 3 VPN, layer 2 VPN. What we have added since 3 years is EVPN. You have the richest implementation in the industry of EVPN, whether it's direct EVPN, whether it's CIDR headend over EVPN CIDR. You can implement this on ASR 9000 for point-to-point and multi-point services. DCI, same thing. We have added VXLAN EVPN, so for the interoperability with ACI. And in addition to that, we have also added something that is called OpFlex. I don't know how many of you know about the OpFlex. It's actually the interoperability between iOS XR and ACI in a way that you auto-provision the sub-interfaces on ASR 9000 when ACI is adding the new services. So that DCI pretty much has been completed, the development of DCI technologies on ASR 9000. Peering, peering always has been there. FlowSpec is one technology that has been added, and we see now a lot of adoptions of FlowSpec across multiple infrastructures. And otherwise, very successful platform, over 4,000 customers across the globe. So pretty much, a very trusted platform, very successful platform. We are going to reach this quarter 100,000 chassis worldwide. So very big achievement, and thank you all for help with your customers, your infrastructures with these deployments. ASR 9000, the really flagship value of ASR 9000 has been investment protection. We have been keeping, and we do keep investing in the chassis, and the same chassis we have released in 2009. So if your customer put in the network the chassis in 2009, they are going to be able to implement 400G on those chassis next year. That's not something that you see commonly on the market. You see chassis transitions, revision transitions. We haven't done that. We actually, what we are showing you is going to work across and in the chassis that we have released at the beginning. And so you will see hardware evolution. I'm going to share all the investment there. On the architecture leadership, the beauty of having ASR 9000 in the network is that ASR 9000 has been there since 2009. So all the unified MPLS technologies, even spanning tree, layer 2 technologies, G8032, everything is there on that platform. And now, since 3-4 years, we have been heavily investing into segment routing and EVPN. And all these, so the new architectures are there. And not only the new architectures are there, but actually the bridge between the new and the previous architectures are there. That means if you need to interoperate between EVPN and VPLS, you can do that with ASR 9000. If you want to interoperate between LDP and segment routing, RSVPT and segment routing, you can do that. So that's basically the platform that is going to do the bridge for you. And security at every level, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So it's not only about encryption, it's not only about DDoS, it's also about how we are going to secure iOS XR itself. And there is a lot of innovation being done there in 64-bit XR. Going to the architecture. So the architecture, and you're going to have more deep dive sessions into EVPN, SR, and the architecture itself. Going forward, what we are building towards the roadmap on the feature side is unified end-to-end segment routing programmable infrastructure. Why segment routing? Because it simplifies, but it's programmable. So what you can do, you can expand it actually from the access, aggregation, core. You can have all the domains running the same underlay. Why it is important? It's because we are going to automation era, right? With automation, you can automate multi-domain different technologies. You can do that. But when you automate it, actually, when you do the automation with uniform underlay technology, it's not only much cleaner, but it also enhances your resiliency. There is no handoffs between the domains, so that unified end-to-end segment routing domain is really important. Also, that programmability of the segment routing, on-demand SLA, plays huge role where we talk about building something that is as much as possible service agnostic, so that you can put all the services on the top of it, but SLA aware. And SLA aware on demand, so that if you introduce a new service from the edge, you can actually request the network to deliver the right characteristics for that service. Our slicing technology is based on segment routing, and you will see that in other sessions. So overlay technology are services, right? So what services we are doing on the top of segment routing? Layer 3 VPN, same as usual, right? Layer 3 VPN over segment routing. EVPN, point-to-point EVPN. So basically driving all services into BGP control plane, unified control plane for end-to-end services. Why? It's because when you have that unified control plane between different domains, you can actually transfer information and request treatment of the services in different places of the network with the same information that is originated from the service origination. Example, if from the data center I have a service and I want this service only to go on encrypted links, I can set the BGP community. When the service is going to traverse the data center, EVPN EVP and VXLAN data center, it's going to be advertised with that community, right? When it reaches ASR 9000, and ASR 9000 is going to put it into layer 2 or layer 3 EVPN service, that community can be used to place it only in SR tunnel or SR plane that is implemented over MACsec encrypted link. So that's just one example of what behaviors you can actually achieve in an automated way that today you would have to do completely manually, right? You can actually program that behavior through implementing the policies on the service and having the underlying transport that can respond to the policies. Now, what's changing to the edge? So edge traditionally was sitting here between aggregation and core. What is changing, it is actually, as we are going to move edge closer to the edge, we will need the infrastructure that is flexible enough to put that edge placement anywhere. So having SR EVPN, you can build like, think about it like logical fabric, right? EVPN is an overlay fabric that you can plug to its edge in any place in the network, right? So edge can be here, but it can be here, it can be here, it can be here. It can be basically in any place of the network where you need that service termination, depending on whether you have the right density of the services that it requires distribution, whether you have a video that you want to inject into the service that requires earlier service termination, etc. So infrastructure that allows you flexibility. And actually, going back to this, so many wins that we have had recently in the industry are following this architecture. Colt was one example that I think Adam brought in his slide. It's exactly based on that premises aggregation built on NCS 5500, edge built with ASR 9000 with SR and EVPN transport. So really the successful positioning is to go to use those next generation architectures that deliver automation and operational ease to customers, but also the ability to use the right platform in the right place in the network, so that the overall capex is also optimized. I just wanted to bring a quick win case on the enterprise side, because we always refer to infrastructure as building infrastructure for service provider. There are specific cases, whether utility companies or financials, where you may be working with, where they require their own infrastructure build out, and then we will use the same portfolio, pretty much the same design to deliver those end-to-end infrastructure. All right, so now I'm going to move to a little bit more tactical information and basically go over what is new, what cards we are bringing, where to position in what card in the deployments. So any questions before I go there?
To listen to the question. Sorry for this.
Sorry, the last page about the winning solution. This one. You mean no, the last one. Sorry. Yeah, this one. You mean Colt deployed this solution?
Similar, yes, exactly. So based on, well, not necessarily these platforms, actually NCS 5500 and ASR 9000.
Yeah, but with EVPN plus SR and also the controller, so PSAP between the controller and data plane, this kind of solution?
I don't know on the automation side whether everything is deployed. From infrastructure side, it's based on EVPN and segment routing. And we do have the white papers and
Okay.
press release that we can share
Okay, yeah.
with more details.
Thank you. That's very interesting for me. I want to find some use case.
Use case studies.
Yeah, thank you.
So what are the investment goals for us for ASR 9000 is really to make sure that investment protection is there for our customers. So ensure the longevity across multiple years and ensure the feature richness for edge roles. So those edge roles are carrier internet service edge business VPN, basically, whether it's layer 2, wholesale, retail, 5G ready mobile edge, so interfacing the mobile data centers and providing not only the, so what is the difference? It's not only the transport, but also the slicing capabilities, on-demand SLA with segment routing and state-of-the-art timing capabilities. Data center interconnect and as well internet transing and peering. So continuous investment in those features. When we look at the portfolio development, so just to recall, on ASR 9000, we have initially introduced 9010s and 9006s. Those are 6-slot, 10-slot chassis. And then we have added the 99 portfolio. 99 portfolio is versus 910 portfolio is what is the difference? The difference is in terms of fabric channels on the backplane. So 99 portfolio is going to bring you a little bit further in terms of per slot capacity than a 90 portfolio. Now we continue investing in both 90 and 99 because on the edge platforms, not all customers actually need multi-terabit capacities. So both 9010s, 9006s, and 99s are going to continue evolve within the portfolio. Within 99, we have started with 9922 and 9912, which were basically the chassis with distributed switching fabrics and RP. And over the last 2 years, we have added 9910 and 9906. 9910 and 9906 are very interesting chassis because they are hybrid. So they are RSP based, like 9010s and 9006s, but in the back of those chassis, you have 5 fabrics. So you can start them as low capacity chassis like 400G, and then as you grow with the requirements in terms of capacity per slot, you can add those fabrics in the back. So very interesting chassis. We see 9906 really picking up very, very fast and being the next 9010. 9010 has been the most popular chassis. Now we see it definitively shifting towards 9906. And then the beauty is that it's very flexible, right? You can start it low and then grow as the demand is ramping up. What we are doing, so what we are implementing this year. So Lightspeed, our 4th generation line card family, started shipping, and we have opened the orderability last year, and we have started shipping it in December. We have some big, large customers investing into the technology. We have expanded 1.2T Tomahawk. Tomahawk is the 3rd generation line card. We have expanded the 1.2T card into PE roles. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. We have added 7 fabric PowerGlide, which is 1 and 10G line card. We like Marvel names, so that's how we code name our line cards. But this is the 10 and 1G card on ASR 9000. We also introduced integrated IP over DWDM CFP2 DCO, same as what you saw on NCS 5500. And we actually have some large win in the industry where customers are deploying 5500-based aggregation networks and using this integrated IP over the DWDM to connect to ASR 9000. On software side, we are working on 64-bit, and we have seen quite significant uptake in 64-bit deployment on ASR 9000 since last year. So I'm going to talk about what we have introduced there. On security, we have introduced 1G MACsec. So MACsec is already integrated on a majority of the card, but on the high-speed cards. So now we have also introduced 1G MACsec capabilities, and we are introducing flexible consumption model this month. Lorenzo is going to talk about that more in details, and I'm just going to mention which part of the portfolio is going to have this offering ready when. So when you look at the deployment tracks on ASR 9000, we have those 5 fabric chassis and 7 fabric chassis. So it's just really to be aware of what kind of capacity you can drive on which chassis, and what kind of the capacity you can drive where you mix basically the cards that are going to both 99 and 9000 5 fabric chassis, because they are interchangeable, but there are some capacity implications if we use 5 fabric chassis in 7 fabric chassis. So basically the focus for 99 high bandwidth mode is enable everything in 7 fabric. Everything in 7 fabric means we are going to drive the maximum capabilities, maximum capacity of the chassis. So in order to enable that, we have introduced 2 programs. We basically enabled 10 1G 7 fabric card. 10 and 1G card, there are 2 variants. There's 24 and 48 by 10 1 card. Those are 400G cards, right? So in theory, they don't need 7 fabric. You could do them very well with 5 fabric. There's enough bandwidth on the fabric to make them. This is basically the enabler for high bandwidth mode. So when you have 99 chassis, always look for the cards that are starting with A99. Those are the cards that are enabled with 7 fabric. That's going to enable the maximum capacity on the chassis. And we also introduced that 1.2 tera card PE profiles. I'm going to talk more in details about that. On the standard mode, so either 5 fabric mode only or mixed mode, what we are introducing is 400G cards with 200G CFP2 DCO capabilities, so IP over DWDM integrated, and 1G MACsec, right, on Mod 400 cards. And Lightspeed and the next generation of Lightspeed is going to span across all those deployment tracks. Recap on the 3rd generation family. This is our Tomahawk line card generation. It spans from 200 mode up to 1.2. And it's a very flexible portfolio. You basically have different types of cards for different needs. So the blue cards here, those are the 10 and 1G. It's a dual rate portfolio where each of the ports can be provisioned either as 10 or 1. And those are the LAN cards. Those are fixed mode line cards, the most cost optimized line cards for 10 and 1G offering. Then similar densities, we have modular line cards. Modular line cards provide very similar densities. What they do, in addition to the fixed line cards, they provide the modularity. So you can actually mix and match different ports. You can match 100G, 10G, 1G, and you also have the ability to implement different optics types, right? When you have fixed cards, we have to basically make them with the most dense optic types. When you have modular, we can actually provide the determination for optics like CFP2 and that's what enables this integrated IP over DWDM, right? So that's the portfolio. Then we have 100G cards, which are one LAN OTN. So those are the cards with MACsec and with the highest, basically highest scale, service scale on the platform. And the two yellow cards, those are the LAN cards. These cards have been initially designed for core portfolio. They have been, these are internal TCAM cards, and those are QSFP28 cards, 1.2T and 4x100. And recently we have redesigned the TCAM partitions on these cards to basically enable them for edge profiles as well. So really the reason for all these cards is to provide the flexibility for any deployments, right? So you have choices for any types of requirements from optics side, encryption, type of encapsulation on the links. You have those choices here. What we have introduced last year is the 4th generation line cards. We have introduced 32x100 and 16x100 Lightspeed cards. Those cards are QSFP28 based 100G cards, and they are core and peering optimized. That's basically what the main role for those cards is. 32x100 card is mostly focused, it's actually focused on 99 chassis, and 1.6 card can go into both 90 and 99 chassis. So how to deploy ASR 9000 this year? When you look at all these cards, right, which role, what cards are playing the role in? Starting with BNG, BNG is implemented on Tomahawk line cards. So any of this 3rd generation line card up to 8x100, you have full implementation of BNG. And the differentiation in the market for our BNGs has been geo-redundancy. It continues to be a flagship features on the subscriber termination. PE role also is focused on Tomahawk, so up to 1.2T portfolio. Aggregation, in the aggregation network, we position NCS 5500. That's the platform that is optimized for the aggregation with SR underlay, EVPN overlay. Historically, networks that have been deployed 3 years ago, 4 years ago, ASR 9000 has been deployed in the aggregation. So Tomahawk and Lightspeed can be used there for refresh. DCI with EVPN, with segment routing, VXLAN, Tomahawk is the main implementation there. When we go into peering and core refresh, this is where you can use Lightspeed. Lightspeed is going to give you much lower power per gigabit per second and much higher density. The density is really needed in core and peering roles first before it comes to the edge. So that's where we position and we have released these cards for. Very quick mention on the software releases. So this is very tactical. Basically today, initially, we have released these 2 releases for the certifications. Now you have 652 and 653 shipping. So the releases, those should be the releases that are recommended for the deployment with ASR 9000 Lightspeed. This is focused on Lightspeed deployment software. Another platform which we have released in 2018, around March, April 2018, is 9901. This is one rack unit platform based on Tomahawk chipset. So it has pretty much full feature parity with all Tomahawk family. And where is it used mostly? It's really a PE, small PE platform, collocation space, as well as PE on the stick. So Very flexible platform. All the roles, BNG, route reflector, distributed PE, everything is supported, and we also have a pay-as-you-grow offering on the platform. This platform is obviously, it goes 4 times higher than our 9001 portfolio. So we do provide a pay-as-you-grow capability here. One thing to mention is it's very flexible in terms of interfaces, termination. So especially for PE colocation, where you need 1G as well as not just 10G, but also 1G. You have 16 1G ports. You have 24 dual rate ports, that the same as the card, the 10G, 1G card that we have. And you have 2 100G ports for uplink that also can support 40G. So very flexible, all the timing interfaces as well, so can be deployed in mobile network as well. Small PE, small form factor PE platform. So what are the other investment programs that we are driving this year that will be available to you and to our customers? 1.2 Tomahawk PE profile releasing in 662. 662 is going to be available in April. So in April, basically, you will have fully functional 1.2T PE card on Tomahawk portfolio with lower power, QSFP 28, so very attractive card for PE deployments. 7 fabric 10 1G for which should be implemented actually any 99 chassis where you see a need for 10G and 1G. 99 that 99 48 by 10 card should be used, and MaxTech and CFP2 DCO. All of this coming in April this year. So starting with Service Edge on 1.2 T card. So initially, that card has been shipping actually since a couple of years now, maybe 3 years, and it is deployed in a couple of customers as a core, basically deployment. So that positioning definitively continues. Full peering. So we have expanded the TCAM partitioning to actually increase the flow spec scale up to 3,000 rules per card, and we have also expanded the number of session supports on that card to 7,000 BGP and 512 IPv6. So expanded BGP and flow spec support. And on PE, we have qualified layer 2 VPN, layer 3 VPN, DCI, VXLAN, all the profiles that ASR 9000 supports. We have qualified on this card, and it will have slightly different scale from the other cards. When I say slightly different, it's, for example, you see here on per NPU up to 4,000 layer 2, layer 3 sub-interfaces support versus on the 8x100 and other cards, modular cards, you can actually do up to 32,000. So there is higher scale, but actually 4,000 for business VPN is very, very, very good number of services. And HQS supported with 256,000 actually, not 256 queues, but 256,000 queues on per NPU, and 2,000 of CIDR headed. So fully functional PE card. And if you go on CCW, you will see that on the top of the that card 1.2T, we have enabled services licenses, which previously were not there, and they will be available starting with 662 release. So this is definitely very exciting. Why? It's because customers who already invested in Tomahawk portfolio and have certified those cards can very quickly expand to these type of capacities with PE profiles. IP over DWDM. So we have released 100G IP over DWDM with CFP2 DCO capabilities last year in 651 release, so about July last year. And in 662, so in April, we will release the MPAs on mod 400 for 200G IP over DWDM integrated. So this is mostly, this is mostly used for individual, long haul links in metro areas where there is no underlying optical infrastructure, and you need one or two links that are longer than 10 kilometers. So you have that option here, and equivalent option is available on NCS 5500. So when the network is built with aggregation on 5500 and PE on ASR 9000, it's fully interoperable, fully functional. MACsec. MACsec has been on demand, especially from data center, financial customers, as well as the public sector. So if you are working with governments or financial customers, they are likely to actually ask for these capabilities. And I think actually some countries in Europe have introduced the regulation on mandatory encryption on the links for financial institutions, right? So definitely using MACsec is a nice way of enabling encryption at line rate, and it's within the cost of the port, right? So you do not need to have additional equipment to provide that encryption. And so the support for 1G is there on this new MPA, which we are releasing again. It's already orderable, and the software support is coming in 662. It supports 32 ports in that CSFP mode. So actually, you can also use it as a regular 1G MPA with increased capacity, right? Because it moves from 20 ports that we have today on 20 by 1 MPA to 32 by 1 MPA. So definitively great solution for MACsec, but actually also very good solution just for regular 1G because it increases the density. Now moving to software, 64-bit OS, iOS XR has been shipping on ASR 9000 since 6.0, so since about 3 years. And we have seen this year specifically a big uptake, and driven by Lightspeed introduction. Lightspeed is 64-bit card only, as well as 9901, which is 64-bit only. Now, for customers who are running today on 32-bit, why would they go to 64-bit? So from OS perspective, protocols perspective, it's the same iOS XR as 32-bit, right? It's the same BGP, the same ISIS, OSPF, VPN. There's no difference there. Where the difference is really on the what is underlying kernel and what is under hood. It's instead of QNX, we move to Linux. With Linux, you basically open new way of operating the systems. You can move from PIEs and traditional iOS XR to RPM-based management. You can build golden ISO, so it basically helps modernize how the systems are managed. Help actually automate management of upgrades, management of images on the system. And as the underlying Linux infrastructure, it also provides ZTP with iPXE. So really, the new way of approaching system management, more with data center-like tools. That's the main reason for moving to that next-gen operation system. We also provide app hosting, so you can actually host whether you host Python scripts or one of the use case we have been showcasing is hosting the performance monitoring probes, so you can do it now locally on the router. So this is actually summarizing, some of these abilities that I've been talking about. So flexible builds. You can pick your own packages. You can build your golden ISO. You can manage your installs through RPMs, and you also get the access to extended programmability tools, NetConfian capabilities. We also have them on CXR, telemetry, extensive telemetry implementation on all the counters that we do have on iOS XR. Trusted systems. So this is also something very specific to 64-bit. We have been investing heavily in security within OS. And what really changes with 64-bit is that 64-bit is taking full advantage of the security that we are building into the hardware. So first, before we boot the OS, we need to verify that the hardware is authentic and non-tempered. That's happening within the boot up. The second thing that happens within the boot up is signing, actually co-signing of the images, so that the image that you are running on the system is signed by Cisco as well as yourself or the customer. So from certificate perspective, you know that what you are running on the system is the authentic, non-tempered image from Cisco. And the third thing is maintaining the trust during the runtime, which basically is preventing or monitoring all the processes during the runtime, preventing the tampering with the router while it's up and running. Sometimes those routers are up and running for, without any upgrades for 3-4 years or more, right? So how do we know that nobody actually went play with the processes? Now it's implemented. And on the top of it, we also are working within our crosswalk automation portfolio on the system that is going to visualize the security statistics for you. So any changes that will happen on the system while it's running are going to be reported back. So that holistic security approach to the OS, not just to the services and infrastructure, which we obviously have to provide as network providers, but we also have huge emphasis on the OS itself and modernizing that security of the OS. And flexible consumption model. Lorenzo is going to spend more time on this. We obviously know as we bring new capabilities, we bring more capacity to the systems. We have to enable our customers to consume the models along, which actually is paced with the need of growth, right? So that's exactly what this consumption model is designed for. It allows license pooling between the equipment, and it also allows investment protection with some transferability of the software licenses between the cards and families. On ASR 9000, the focus specifically is on Lightspeed and high-end Tomahawk portfolio first. So we are going to enable in March, by the end of this month, 32 by 100, 1.60 up to 8 by 100. And then as the next wave, we are going to enable a remaining Tomahawk portfolio with a 1G, 10G portfolio as well as modular cards. Okay, I'm going to skip this. And on the roadmap, so I want to show you what's next, because we definitely have, it's not, today, 32 by 100, we are not stopping there. And next year, we are going to bring the next generation, again, the next set of line cards based on the next generation ASIC, Lightspeed Plus. And here we are going to enable Service Edge, so 32 by 100 card, Service Edge card, 400G, 10 by 400 card, as well as combo cards. And combo cards are very interesting for a platform like ASR 9000, because you basically are going to get the capability to move slowly from 100 to 400 as you grow. So those 2T and 2.4T cards, they are going to have a combination of 400G and 100G ports. And yeah, so you can basically start running the card only with 100G, and as the customer evolves towards higher speeds, you can enable 400G. And the combo cards, 8x100 also is going to be a combo cards with 400 and 8x100 cards, 400 and 100G interfaces. So great investment protection. All these cards are going to be released with Service Edge as well as TR core focused versions. And
sorry. I was saying, sorry for interrupting you. There was a question from the WebEx panel. I believe those are relevant to what you are presenting right now. It's from Gianluca Angelo. What is the difference between Lightspeed and Lightspeed Plus? First one, and second, is it in the roadmap Lightspeed card with 8x100 gig cards? I think you have already mentioned, but just as a courtesy to Gianluca, you
yes. So the difference, it is a new ASIC. So it is the new ASIC that we are going to release next year. And so it's going to be next revision of the Lightspeed family ASICs. And 8x100, yes, we do plan to introduce 8x100 card in SCTR and consumption model or flexible consumption model way. So yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
So that was my last slide. Any questions, comments?
Hi, I have actually two questions. You talked about some way back slide with dual RSP as active, yes, achieving 1 terabit. So it is possible.
So all the RSPs on ASR 9000
are active standby.
Yes.
So it's active from the forwarding perspective.
It's always active. So basically, the fabrics with RSP mode, the fabrics reside on RSP, and both fabrics are, from data plane perspective, they are serving the slot capacity.
Oh, so nothing changed.
Nothing. Exactly. So from control plane, it's active standby. From data plane, it's active. Yes. And with RSP5, which is the RSP that we released with Lightspeed, it gives you 1.8 tera capacity in active mode on per slot basis on those cards. So yeah. Definitely, very proud of this, because this is like 4 times higher than what we thought when we released the chassis in 2009. So, and we keep going. So one thing. I think that's the ventilator AC.
Okay, so the second question is, for the 9901, you said that there is only 64 bits?
Yes.
So we cannot install...
No, 9901 is running only Linux 64-bit mode.
What about the 9906?
9906, both.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, all chassis...
But it is shipped with 64 bits?
Yeah, so everything... so basically, all the modular chassis can run in 32 or 64, up to Tomahawk. So basically, everything that is up to Typhoon runs in 32. Tomahawk runs in 32 or 64. Everything that is above Tomahawk Lightspeed runs only in 64 bits.
Okay, so if we have one Lightspeed line card installed in the chassis, we must have the 64-bit operating.
To 64-bit.
Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Will be CGN supported on the ASR 9901 platform?
I just missed the first question.
CGN, carrier grade NAT.
Okay. Carrier grade NAT is supported on today on VSM. So VSM is the service module. So what is supported inline is MAP-T, but carrier grade NAT like 4.4 or 6.4, they require external, either service module or external appliance. So inline is MAP-T.
Okay, thank you.
And MAP-T is supported on 9901.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So in the slides, how to deploy ASR 9000 in this year. So in DCI, you have mentioned Tomahawk and then ACI, so SR plus EVPN. So here I have a question. I think ASR 9000 does not support ACI.
So this is DCI function. So it's basically whenever we position ASR 9000 as DCI, it's connected to ACI data center. What we support is EVPN VXLAN termination, and then we basically mediate this to MPLS or segment routing core. So it's a DCI function to ACI.
So is this something about this moment? OpenFlex?
OpenFlex, exactly, yes. So this is already supported. This has been shipping since about 3 years, and we have been adding features along releases. So this can be deployed today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have multiple questions. ASR 99 line card is 7 fabric based. Can we mix and match between normal ASR 90 and 99?
So A99 cards can only go into 99 because they have 7 fabrics. So A90 cards can go across the portfolio.
So I can, in the same chassis, 9906, for example, have line card 99 and then
A90, yes, you can. But when you go to 90 chassis, you cannot put 99. Yes. So basically, to the higher capacity chassis, you can put everything, but to the lower capacity chassis, you cannot put the 99 cards.
ASR 9901 has B as you grow. This is limit the total capacity or total number of ports?
Number of ports.
Number of ports.
Yes.
So, okay. With i6R 64-bit, it supports multiple applications to be installed on the.
Yes.
Is there a certification certified with Cisco?
No, we don't have like App Store like Apple. Yeah, so no, it's mostly basically for the usage.
Or ecosystems.
Yeah, no, it's a very good actually question. This is something that we could do. Today we don't certify the applications on as third-party host applications, but that's definitely a good point.
Okay. For ASR, RSP, last question. RSP, new RSP 900, support all line card or not support something like Typhoon?
Which one?
The new RSP.
Oh yes, new RSP is Tomahawk and Lightspeed. Yes, RSP5.
Tomahawk
because RSP5 is 64-bit only. So all that is Lightspeed is 64-bit.
So it's not support Typhoon?
Not with Typhoon, yes. Okay. It's Tomahawk and App.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question related to IS6R, not 9K. If you are planning to migrate to IS6R's other platforms, other smaller platforms like 900 or
We have access session coming, so that will be
okay.
addressed. We actually, it's great because yes, we do. So we have access portfolio now on iOS XR as well, and that's going to be addressed in the access session.
Yes, please. Regarding the ASR 9901, sorry. The problem here is that I can see that customers ask for modularity in terms of the RSP, which does not support it in the 9901. So there is no roadmap or vision for having a modular small PE fitting in this.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So today the smallest modular is 9904. And we will definitively look into that in the portfolio. But yeah, today 9901 is single control plane, and the smallest dual control plane is dual RP is 9904.
But the positioning itself is different between 9901 and 9904. 9904, I believe it's six track units, 2 line cars only.
Yes.
Which is not the same positioning as a 9901.
They can be used in the same positions. I know the chassis is bigger, right? But from capability perspective, it's
for capability for sure.
Yes, it's exactly the same. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, understand. We are actually looking into this.
So we'll go now for lunch.